What's going on, TW fans? Jake here with this week's episode, another iCast edition of What's New at Tackle Warehouse. There's a ton of stuff on the table, all iCast release stuff. You know, most of it's available for either pre-order or some of it's already in stock. You can buy it now. If you haven't checked out the coverage, make sure to head over to tacklewarehouse.com or our YouTube channel. We did a ton of interviews. There's a ton of coverage on all the new iCast stuff. You don't want to miss it out. So if you want to go see all the new gear, make sure you head over to the website. First one here we got from 6th Sense. This is the new Hangover Line Through Swim Bait. This thing's been sitting on our shelf for a while, this one sample, and I don't know how many people had stopped dead in the tracks in our office. Did people stop by and like, whoa, what is that? Super interesting, really cool swim bait. One of the coolest designs I've seen in a long time. So it is a line through swim bait, but unlike most line throughs out there on the market where the hook typically comes out the bottom, this comes out the top. So the line through system comes right out here through the top. You got that treble right there, secured against the back versus being down against the belly. So you can actually drag this thing along the bottom and you're not going to get snagged up, which is a huge hurdle with most line throughs. This is a really cool swim bait. I mean, they really nailed that profile. Looks like a big shad. Really tough plastic. And then since it's line through, that bait's going to slide up the line. You know, it's really going to land more fish because it's going to decrease that leverage they have to throw the bait. But the baits aren't going to get torn up as much. You're going to be able to catch many more fish on this than you would with some other baits that might get torn up, when battling fish. On the inside, that harness system, fully encased in plastic, which is a huge deal. If you've ever had other soft plastic, or line through swim baits on the market, you fish them once or twice and then they stay in the box for a while and they come back and they're melting and the plastic's turned all white and you got to throw them away and it's a waste of money. This solves that issue, which is a huge deal. Another cool thing about this is they have a bunch of different sink rates. So you got multiple sink rates to choose from and a bunch of different colors. And 6th Sense makes some of the best colors out there. Pretty unique shaped tail in there, kicks really good. I mean, a few months ago they put a video up on their YouTube channel, Ben Milliken catching a 10-pounder prototype in this bait. So it's a proven fish catcher. He's won a big tournament using this bait, so I mean, it's already got a proven track record. Going to be a great swim bait you need to have in the arsenal. Next up from 6th Sense, we got a new spoon. So it is that big spoon season. So if you're looking for a new spoon, 6th Sense always knocks it out of the park. Everything on here, super high quality hardware. I mean, razor sharp, heavy duty treble hooks. Already got a hand tied feather on there. Premium, swivel and split rings on there. But the detailing they put in their spoons is a little bit different. If you look on the outside, they've got all that nice scaling and gill plate patterns, big eye on there. So just a more realistic spoon. If you're out there, on the ledges right now, throwing spoons, definitely want to check this one out from 6th Sense. And then if you need to finesse them a little bit, we got their new Bosa Shaky Worm. So this little worm right here, it's got that ribbing all the way down it. So it still has a decent profile on it, but I mean, this is a deadly finesse worm. If you can see how soft it is, it doesn't matter where you grab it. This thing completely bends around and fully folds up on itself. This material, this tail will actually float up a little bit, so you get that nice tail up position. But super deadly on a Nico rig, on a shaky head. You can wacky rig it if you wanted to. Throw it on a Carolina rig, whatever you want. But there's those times where the fish keep beat up and you got to slow down. This is a super interesting finesse worm that I'm super interested in trying out. With all that ribbing on there, it's going to have a nice bubble trail. It gets a ton of great action, especially with that little ring tail at the end there. You don't need to do anything, and it just sits in the water, and that thing is going to move and quiver. It's also going to hold scent really well, so you can load this thing up with scent, and it's going to stay in all those crevices, and it's going to stay in there for a long time. So a really cool finesse worm there from 6th Sense. From Berkley, we got a few things here. This first one is a new family of baits, or a new family of crankbaits, I should say. This is the Berkley Dime crankbait. So I believe this is the 10-footer, but we also have a 4, a 6, a 15. So we got a whole range of sizes. What's cool about this bait is they're kind of using some of those technologies from some of their other hard baits, and they're transferring it over to this one, and you're going to get kind of a rounded body, but you're going to get kind of a balsa-like action, but with the durability and the performance of a plastic bait. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds there. They got their flash disc technology in there. You can see all those little weights stacked up. They're not perfectly secure, so they have just the tiniest little subtle kick. I wouldn't venture out to say it's loud like a big rattling bait, but there is a subtle click to it. But like I said, it's got that balsa-like action to it, so it's going to be real tight, real subtle. Bunch of different sizes, a bunch of really cool colors. Sticky Sharp Berkley Fusion 19 hooks on there. Really cool family of crankbaits by Berkley. The next one we got up is one that I'm pretty stoked about. A new series of frogs from Berkley. These are the Swamp Lords. So there's a regular frog, and there's a popping frog. These are actually designed by Bobby Lane. Bobby Lane's from Florida. He's won a ton of tournaments. The guy knows a thing or two about throwing frogs, especially growing up there his whole life. One thing to note, pulling these things right out of the package, the plastic on it is crazy soft, and they just collapse incredibly well. And they position that hook on there in just the right spot to optimize your hookup and landing ratios. So you don't have to worry about bending them out and doing stuff to them. Those hooks are angled just right, so when those fish bite, I mean, that thing's going to collapse down, and you're going to get them. Another thing to note too, on the shank of the hook and the cavity of the frog, it's completely sealed in there. So they've sealed off that shank of the hook and sealed the body, so you're not going to have any water leaking inside, which is always an issue with frogs. They've got a ton of cool colors, so if you want a walking style frog or just your traditional hollow body frog, they have that. Then if you're looking for something maybe for a little bit more open water, you want to make a little more commotion, there's a popping version as well. So keeping on the same theme as frogs, from Tekl, our guy Hideki over there at Tekl Lures, it's got this new frog. It's called the Sharker. This thing is crazy. When you check it out, the underwater footage, or I guess above water footage of this frog, it does some stuff that no other frog out there is doing. That hook is right there above the body, so you're going to get great hookups on this. But as you can see, the body is much more different shape, much narrower than most of your hollow body frogs out there on the market. Really streamlined, really tapered down, shaped like a shad, and then it has that nice little feather on the back. Now, with this thing, I mean, you can walk it super easy, and it's got that weight way up there in the front too, so it keeps it sitting nice, perfectly horizontal. But it does some other things that you can't do with other frogs. You can twitch it really hard, and this thing will glide side to side, over a foot in some of the footage he has. So, I mean, it glides side to side. You can do a darting action where you can dart it under the water. You can get it to dive. You can dive in, and it'll swim, and then you can let it float up. And then he has footage of it. He's just winding it, and it's gliding back and forth and swimming underwater. So, super amazing. He spends tons of time testing and developing new lures, and it goes to show everything he comes out with is super unique, and this is something you definitely want to check out and add to the arsenal, because it does some stuff that no other frog on the market is doing. So check that one out from Tekl. All right, from Rapala, it might look familiar. We got a new Shad Wrap. This is the new Shad Wrap Elite. So Rapala has been remaking some of their most classic lures in an elite version. And what they're doing with this elite version is, one, got a fully wired through frame. So if you ever used an old school Rapala, maybe you hook a giant muskie or a pike or something that just crushes this thing, that could always happen, and they could tear baits up and you tear them apart and lose them. With the wire through, if worst case scenario, if that happens, if you hook some kind of toothy monster of a lifetime and it totally crushes the bait, you're still going to land them with that wire through system on there. On the outside, premium hardware all the way around. So heavy duty stainless split rings, VMC hybrid hooks on there. So premium treble hooks, and then they have these nice gilded finishes. So the finishes are just a lot shinier. They got more pop to them. They got that nice gilded finish on the gills, so they flash a little bit more, but just a more refined version of everyone's favorite Shad Wrap. We got a couple sizes of them, so make sure you go check them all out on tacklewarehouse.com. All right, next up from Fish Arrow. So we got a couple pretty interesting baits. This first one is a collaboration with DRT, and this is the Dart Jack. And this thing does some stuff that I've never seen a lot of other baits do either. So one, it's crazy loud. I mean, there's so many rattles going on inside there. It's insane. So this thing goes, it's kind of a slow suspending bait, so it goes just below the surface. But the action on this bait, it glides side to side. It has that nice darting action. But the glide side to side, you would not believe how far it goes side to side, almost like it was a single jointed glide bait, which is, it doesn't have a joint in it. It's a solid body, but you just can't believe how far this thing will swim side to side, even on a straight burn. Pretty amazing bait if you're, if you throw a lot of big swim baits. This is definitely something unique and probably something that's going to be hard to get your hands on. So whenever you can get one, make sure you get it while you can. And then a couple new additions from Fish Arrow to the VT Jack series is a couple new sizes and sink options. So we had the VT 210. This is just a smaller, more finesse version of the VT Jack. And then we have the 230 Slow. So this is kind of a slow float model. So it goes down just about a foot and then kind of suspends there. Depending on your water temperature, it might vary just a little bit, but just a new sink rate, and then we got that smaller size. If you like throwing the VT Jack, now there's a few more options for you in that family of baits. All right, more families of baits here. So from Strike King, we got a bunch of stuff from Strike King this year. Those guys sent us over a couple samples, what they just had on hand so we can put on the show. So this first one here is their Gravel Dog. So the Gravel Dog comes in two sizes. There's an 8 and a 10. And, to me what it looks like is they took, like that 1.5 body and profile and they shoved like a 3XD bill into it, which is cool. I mean, the 1.5, that body shape is probably responsible for, more tournament wins than almost any other crankbait out there on the market. But now with that bigger bill on there, you're getting this bait down. It's made to dig and to dive and down there, root around in that 10-foot range, really mimic crawdads. And that depth range is super crucial, especially pre-spawn time and then as they're starting to move back out. So if you're looking for something that's going to dive into that range, the Gravel Dog has got you covered. Real wide wobbling action, super aggressive. Got rattles in it, super loud. So there's a couple different options for different depth ranges, but new crankbait from Strike King. All right, new jerkbait from Strike King, or I should say, a couple additions here. So these are kind of adding into the KVD Elite family. So there's the KVD Elite 200 and then the Elite 300 deep. So last year we got the KVD Elite 300, which is basically, it's the jerkbait and with all the modifications and stuff that KVD does himself. So they come right out of the box with Mustad triple grip treble hooks on them, and they've got a couple more refined finishes. So they got colors that have more detail in them and just pop a little bit better, have more shine to them. So just kind of a high performance Strike King crankbait, but now we have them in the full range now. So now adding to that, we have the 200 size and the 300 deep, because last year we only had the 300 model, and now they're adding in the other more popular sizes to that family as well. And then there's a whole new family of baits from Strike King in the Bitsy family. So they're making a whole bunch of stuff in the Bitsy family, and these are just a couple that I got. So there's a Bitsy Popper and a Bitsy Dog. So small little walking bait and a small tiny little popper. So those times when the fish are really, really keyed in on small stuff, that's going to be great. But where these are really going to shine, or like your backwater creeks and small ponds where you have you have small bass in there and you don't have a ton of big forage for them to feed on, these are going to be great. So make sure you go over, check out all the Bitsy stuff. Just, for all that pond fishing, we need that smaller profile bait to trigger bites. And now the last up we have is the Rage Hawk. This is a super cool finesse soft plastic, but there's a ton of different things you can do with it. I mean, you can put a flipping hook in this thing, and you have these flappers that detach, and it's going to get a ton of crazy action. You can rig this up on a jig and have a jig trailer. You can put it on a Ned head. You can pull the arms off, and you can just have a straight little Ned bait. Super versatile soft plastic. You can do a bunch of different stuff with, adding to that Rage family, the new Rage Hawk. All right, a couple terminal pieces we'll hit real quick. So from VMC, we have the swinging Ned jig, Ned head. So this is built with that finesse hook that they have the Mono Keeper on, which is already a phenomenal hook. Now it's on a swinging Ned head, which there's some cool features about this Ned head that I never really would have thought of, for your Ned fishing applications. You're fishing along the bottom and you're tugging, pulling your bait around, and not every time is the jig head going to land perfectly straight and get that tail to point perfectly straight upward. Now, most of your Ned baits are made out of those high floating soft plastics, so no matter which way this head lands, if it lands sideways in a crack or something, it's still going to allow this thing to swing and get that jig head, or get that soft plastic up in the air in the presentation that you want, pointed straight upwards all the time. So I never would have thought about that, but I feel like that's going to increase the performance of your Ned jigs. And, you know, it's going to be there, you know, if you land perfectly straight, they're going to be able to move around a little bit more anyway. Just really cool jig head there from VMC. And then we have their finesse football head. So every once in a while, you know, these are great for small soft plastics when you need just a finesse style football jig. Has that stack cone keeper on there, really light wire hook. You know, put whatever kind of little soft plastic bait, little craw, creature bait, grubs on there. You know, there's a ton of stuff you can do with these small finesse football heads, but it has that really sharp VMC hook on there. Just a great little jig head to pretty much always have in the arsenal. All right, some new line from Sunline. So they've got a few different things. This first one here is their tapered FC leader. So there's a couple leaders inside the package, and what it is, it's a 10-foot fluorocarbon leader, but it's tapered. So depending on the size that you buy, this one's a 12 to 8, so it's 12 pound at one end and 8 pound at the other. You know, and listening to Kyle Welcher talk about this, there's a few different things you can do with it. You can actually rig them both ways. I thought it would only be a one-way deal, but you know, you rig the heavy end up at your connection knot with your braid, you're gonna have a stronger connection knot and, you know, less chance of breaking your connection knot versus breaking off at whatever bait you're tied off to if you get snagged up. The other thing you could do is if you wanted to reverse it, say you're fishing over a lot of rocks and a lot of really snaggy cover, you know, really abrasive bottoms and structure and stuff like that. You can reverse it. Say you don't need the strength as much at your terminal, at your line-to-line connection, but you really need a, you know, extra line diameter down there at your bait. That's going to prevent you from, you know, dragging over and breaking off your bait. And then, you know, as it shortens, it is going to get stronger. So, you know, you might start with 8, but as you're working your way up, you're going to get to 10 and eventually 12 on that leader. So something cool, just something different if you're try out for your finesse fishing. Keeping with finesse fishing, Overwatch Sunline braid. This is a really cool braided line. And what's unique about it, as you can see on kind of the stripes on the package, but the line itself, it's a mixture of a dark green and chartreuse. Now, it's a 30 inches of dark green and I believe 12 inches of chartreuse. And what that's going to do for you is be able to kind of detect that line laying on the surface and detect those bites a little bit easier. If you have just one solid color line, even if it's high vis line, it's really hard to see that line tick and jump. You know, when you get a finesse bite, especially on, you know, weightless baits and stuff like that. You know, with those little sections of line, you're going to be able to see those move a lot better than just one single color of line. So, yeah, really like that dark green, and the chartreuse is really going to stand out and so you're going to be able to watch for those bites relatively easy. Then we also have Siglon AMZ X8. Now, this line is another finesse style braided line. We got it in a couple colors, and then on the inside, I mean, this line it's crazy thin, but it's insanely smooth. So it's an 8-strand braid, but when you pull this stuff out, I mean, it feels like silk. So if you're looking for a more smooth, rounder finished braid, this new AMZ stuff is definitely going to be the way to go. All right, decoy. Kind of missed a terminal piece here. So we got the decoy front ring. So what this is, it's kind of a unique snap system. It's almost a split ring that's kind of been modified with a unique triangle shape to it. And it's basically a quick snap so you can change your baits in and out without having to retie it. So some people don't like to use, you know, like the full clip style snaps. This is something different, so you can just spin a lure on and spin a lure off. But it remains relatively small and compact, and it's super wide here at the bottom. So it doesn't hinder the action of your bait, and it doesn't have any, you know, 90-degree angles or anything like that, or sharp angles in it. So it's not going to ruin the action of your bait. And they're crazy strong for how small they are. So freshwater and saltwater use, we have a size, you know, it's not that big and has 150-pound strength. So just easy way to swap out lures, especially if you're deep cranking right now in the summer. You know, sometimes you might be just off on the color, or you might need to switch from rattling to silent, but this is going to be a way to really like change baits, go through them quickly, and not have to waste any time retime. Super cool. From Biospawn, last couple we got here. This first one is the Exo Swim. So it looks familiar, same body shape as their Exo Stick. What's cool about these Exo sticks is, as you're using them and they get torn up, you can just cut one section off and it's like you have a brand new worm again. So now with this Exo Swim, they've incorporated this double tail design. So it has that one big hook on there, so that thing really kicks and gets going, and then they have a small little paddle up there. So that thing just moves and you're getting two different actions, and that thing is just kicking and moving a tremendous amount of water. So if you're looking for a worm to really swim through that grass, fish it up shallow on a small bullet head, that's going to be one you want to check out. And I know it's like a deadly technique down in the south in the pre-spawn, but it definitely works all the time when fish are up shallow in the grass. And the last one here is a new popper they came out with. Now, what's cool about this popper is, it has a really unique shape to it, and it kind of has some squared off edges. It's, almost looks like they cut it out of like a CNC or something like that. It looks really cool. And it's got that wide pop mouth on there. So this thing, not only does it pop, but it does a great job at walking as well. So you're going to get multiple lures in one. Sometimes, just walking that small popper in place really gets bites, and then, you can walk it. You can give it a couple pops, so you're kind of getting multiple actions in one. Comes out of the box, great hooks, feather treble on the rear, so no upgrades necessary. Just all around great top water there from Biospawn. Last up, couple rods from St. Croix. So we got a couple new series of rods. We've actually got more than just these two right here. So make sure to head over to the website, check out all the new rods from St. Croix. But we have a new updated Mojo Bass and the Avid series. I'll start off here with the Mojo Bass. Mojo Bass is now on their SE2 carbon. They got stainless steel frames, aluminum oxide inserts on the guides. They went with these new custom reel seats on here. Super cool, really comfortable. And then they went with a whole different grip system on here. So it's kind of a pressed cork with the EVA. They went with a little bit different with the styling on them. They have a little bit different shape to them. It's almost, it's flat up on the top and almost has a triangular shape to them. They're crazy comfortable in your hand. And these are, for the money, one of the best rods, hard to beat on the market. One of the first nice bass rods I ever bought was a Mojo Bass, and I fished that thing for years and years and years and never had a problem with it. It's a phenomenal series of rods. So if you need a rod that's kind of that you can kind of pick out whatever technique you want, the Mojo Bass is definitely the way to go. They're all technique specific, so they got everything from jerkbait rods to this one right here, big flipping stick, crankbait rods, anything you need, they have a technique specific rod for it. And then next up is their Avid series. This one's built on their SC3 carbon, again with the aluminum oxide inserts and stainless steel guides. These new Avid series are crazy light. Even with the full grip with the cork on it, you would think it would be a little bit heavier, but it is not. It is super, super lightweight, super well balanced, and they got a Fuji reel seat on there. Definitely like the way they did. They went with the full cork and then the EVA top cap up on there. Nice keeper system. With the Avid series, they're kind of more generalized actions, like mediums, medium heavies, not a bunch of rods that, like a spinnerbait specific or flipping bait specific. More generalized actions, but still, they got a whole range of rods. Made in the USA, just phenomenal rods there from St. Croix. All right, that's going to wrap up today's episode of What's New at Tackle Warehouse. Again, thanks for tuning in and checking out all the ICAST stuff we got for you guys this week. Everything's on pre-order, or it's pre-orderable, or it's available to buy now, depending on if it's shown up in time by the time this airs. But make sure to go over to our website, check out all the coverage we did. There's tons of stuff, tons of interviews with all the top pros. So if you want any more information on all the stuff we talked about today, make sure to click shop or the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this week's video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, let us know in the comments which one of these products you're most pumped about.